Oh, I'm sorry. I just read the most endearing comment. Let me start with this because this made me lose my rhythm. Good morning, Den. Den needs to replace the spring in the mechanism inside his toilet tank, and the only thing Google will translate spring is primavera, which is true, but spring also means resorte. Let me put that on the screen. That is really cute because indeed primavera is spring, but the word you're looking for, my dear friend, is this one. Ta-da! Resorte. And see, this is how we create little connections between the cluster and the surroundings. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our little get together live on Facebook Monday through Saturday, where we examine questions like this one. Could be the most mundane thing, or it could be something really amazing and wonderful and big. We take a look at news headlines from our city, our state, and our country. That was fun. Spring resorte. I love it. Anyhow, this is what we do. We look at the information, we try to connect it in positive ways, and we try to have the most amazing life we can as part of the English-speaking community here in Puerto Vallarta, a locals community. It is a pleasure to see you all every single day. And today, February 10th, is no exception. We have all kinds of news gathered for you today. From how will the money be used that comes in from Airbnb to an important news item about vaccines. We have an update on Donovan Carrillo, the ice skater. We have another new cultural ambassador for the state, and I may have another future ex-husband. We have another question that came in from a tourist, and we have some follow-ups from information that we shared yesterday. So we have a little bit of everything. And I'm looking forward to this. So before we go ahead, as always, if you are new, please feel free to let us know by writing the word new. And that way we'll give you a nice little welcome. And if you have something truly important to say, like this question, the spring question from Den, it helps if you, like Den did, add a capital Q at the beginning of your question. So let's dive into the news, and then I'll tell you all the things that we found for you today, right after this. See how easily I get off my track? I love it. Okay, so this first one has to do with money and infrastructure. We announced recently that Airbnb, who has been collecting lodging tax for the state of Jalisco, will now deliver that lodging tax to our state moving forward. And this tax will be used to promote tourism-related projects. Recently, we announced we reported that the director of Puerto Vallarta's Tourism Bureau announced that the specific amount Puerto Vallarta was going to receive every month. But how is this money going to be used exactly and when? Well, it turns out that the government doesn't know yet what they're going to do with the money when this money becomes available. And this fact comes to us from our city's former mayor, Arturo Dávalos, who is now in charge of beach tourism for the state's tourism department or secretary. According to him, there have to be committees put in place so that the committees can assess what is most needed, yada, yada, yada. Sounds like politics to me, if you ask me. But Dávalos did speculate that probably, and he said probably, one of the first projects to be tackled with this new income from Airbnb would be the northbound lateral along our city's main avenue, Francisco Medina Asensio. As you know, the southbound lateral has been fixed up from the hotel zone to downtown with wider sidewalks and a bicycle lane. Now we would want to see the opposite side being upgraded as well. But the decision will have to come from both municipal and state level, and that decision may not come for a while. We also learn, and this is important, if there are educators in your world, teachers or people that work in the education sector, today is the only day where here in Puerto Vallarta, there will be a vaccination campaign specifically for folks in the education sector. This will be available today in Puerto Vallarta and also in Colotlan, Lagos de Moreno, and Zapotlan El Grande. So if you're looking for a booster shot and you are an educator and or you know somebody that is an educator, it would be really wonderful if you could spread the news. New York City is now closer to us and vice versa thanks to a new flight announced by JetBlue. This new flight will start next Saturday, February 19th, and the airline will fly directly from New York City to Puerto Vallarta with 4 flights per week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays and Sundays. There you go. So now we have a chance to go catch a Broadway show and come back on the same day. Probably not, but it's good to know for New Yorkers. And of course, last night, Donovan Carrillo took to the ice skating rink again. He ended up in 22nd place, and we don't mind that at all. He will not come back to Mexico with a medal, but he is already part of history. He received congratulations from the mayor. He received congratulations from the musicians whose music he skated to. And I'm excited. How wonderful. I think this was a great story to follow, and we will continue to follow moving forward. It's interesting, again, to mention the fact that Mexico does not even have an ice skating team per se. Mexico doesn't have an ice skating rink officially for Mexican ice skaters to train and learn the sport. So we wish Donovan Carrillo the best as he returns to Mexico and continues with his training. Right after the break, I will let you in on another icon from our state and his new role as a tourism ambassador and his possible role as a future ex-husband. Yes, I seem to collect future ex-husbands whenever I go and wherever I go, and I don't care. Believe me, it's just the best day out, says our snarky weather. A tremendous day. Well, I think our tremendous snarky weather man may be onto something because it is 23 degrees Celsius. It is chilly. Well, chilly by local standards. Humidity is at 38% and it's 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Sounds like a perfect recipe for going out for a nice brisk walk like the one I took yesterday, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But for now, please know that today we can expect a clear day with a high temperature of 28, a low temperature of 15. Ouch, that's cold. Tomorrow, another clear day, high temperature of 28, low temperature 17, And on Saturday, we will have a clear day again with a high temperature of 30 and a low temperature of 18. Moving right along, I want to address a question that came from a tourist. Got a lot of these tourists that come back to Puerto Vallarta after a while and things have changed. And they're like, who changed that? Who moved this building? Who closed this highway? Well, this comes from someone who noticed that the highway from La Cruz to Destiladeras is now blocked. All the asphalt has been ripped up. What happened? One of the local resorts told us it was private property. We loved driving on this road and wondered, what is the real story? Well, everything you mentioned, dear tourist reader, is true. The road has been closed, and now it is private property, and there is a new road to get from La Cruz to Destiladeras, and that is the real story. And that is exactly what happened. Thank you very much for your question. That was your answer. And we decided to answer on the broadcast and not one-on-one, because whenever somebody asks a question like that and we think that the rest of the cluster could benefit by being informed by the answer, we answer on the show. There you go. Moving right along. Oh my God, I forgot about this one. My future ex-husband, meet Checo Perez. He is 32. He's actually a little young. He's a Mexican racing driver who races in Formula One for Red Bull Racing. He won his first Formula One Grand Prix at the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix, and he has now been appointed Jalisco's new cultural and tourism ambassador. He was appointed by Governor Alfaro, and he will promote the state along with other brands such as Puerto Vallarta during the entire F1 2022 season. We are now reminded that our own mayor appointed Puerto Vallarta's own cultural ambassador. He was going to appoint two of them, one of them being the boxer Canelo Perez, and also his trainer, Eddie Reynoso. You may remember that Canelo Perez decided to snub our mayor, didn't show up for the presentation of the keys to the city, so our mayor had no choice but to appoint his trainer. So now we have two ambassadors out there promoting our state. They all get an incentive, which is probably financial, of course, and it remains to be seen, and only time will tell, if these so-called ambassadors actually do something good for our destinations. Let's hope that they do. Yesterday, I inquired about a new museum. You sent me enough leads so that I could put A and B together, and I realized that it is a new project or an offspring from Art Vallarta. They are opening a private nonprofit museum, and they are going to have a fundraiser for it this weekend. It is a ticketed event. I think I looked at ticket prices somewhere and I thought, ouch, that's not for me. But if you want to support this, we have a Facebook event for you. And while browsing through the Facebook events, we also bumped into this one. Our dear new friends, Brandon and James, are coming back to Puerto Vallarta starting on Tuesday, February 22nd, I believe, at the Palm. They're going to present Broadway at the beach. They have actually already reached out to me and asked if we would be willing to have another interview with them. And I said yes, because I think you would like to learn more about what they're going to be performing and what their show is going to be about. I hope I'm right. So I will be contacting Brandon and James in the near future so that we can schedule something before they begin their performances. And before we break into the chit-chat section this morning, I want to let you in on a new discovery. Yesterday, I found myself once again out and about looking for dinner in my ongoing quest for one-handed comfort food. And I figured, okay, I'm in the mood for some kind of rice and curry and something. So I headed to Oregano, of course. I figured Chef Graciela will probably have something comforting. And lo and behold, Chef Graciela had a special yesterday, a special of red curry, which I ordered to bring home with chicken and fresh vegetables, and it was exactly what I needed. It was absolutely wonderful. Um, Shout out to Oregano. If you haven't eaten there, it is one of the most wonderful restaurants here in Versalles. But I wanted to let you know that I was headed to her restaurant right around the corner. I spotted a new venue. It's called Sorti Leggio, and Sorti Leggio is going to open this coming week. It is a cafe, restaurant, bar that will feature live music. Yes, another live music spot comes to Colonia Versalles. I had a chance to speak briefly with the owner, who is an actor, a director, who is now getting involved in singing. So he decided to open a venue. When I asked him, well, what kind of music are you going to share, or are you going to present? And he was very specific. He only wants to present música romántica, or romantic music in Spanish. So again, we haven't experienced the venue. He was still preparing it for opening. He doesn't even have a Facebook page, or not one that I could find. But I'll be looking forward to seeing what this new venue is all about. He also shared with me that in the back of the restaurant, there is room or there are separate sections or rooms, two of them to be precise, that he's going to use to do or to offer music lessons during the daytime. So this sounds like a nice little cultural place, hopefully, for those of us that live on this side of the city. I'll keep you posted. Of course, we will be as supportive as we can of this new venue. As you know, we love to support all these smaller places that start to open up in the neighborhood. So that's what we have for you today. Now, let's take a quick look at your comments and questions this morning, starting with your wonderful good mornings, which I always love to read. Boom, boom, boom. And another hint for you, Dan, a lot of times when I don't know when things are called, and that happens to me too, is I'll take a photograph of this, of whatever it is that I'm shopping for, and I'll present it at the shop. So, you know, if you are looking for a very specific type of spring for your toilet tank, you can also photograph the broken part and just bring your phone with you when you go shopping. And of course, good news is that we have all these hardware stores near our homes, so that you can go exploring in the local hardware stores. Good luck with that. Good mornings from a bunch of people, which I love to read, and a nice thank you from Den. It's always a pleasure. Let's see. It was a fantastic night of skating. What talent. I missed the skating last night, but I will actually look for the replay somewhere online. Last night, my God, I ended up watching this amazing documentary on Netflix about the stock market and the huge economic downfall in the United States in the mid-2000s. And I'm not an expert in economy, and I'm not an expert in politics, but wow, that was a very well-presented documentary. It's on Netflix. It's narrated by Matt Damon, and I'll be damned if I remember what it was called. But now, everything that I watch in this show called Succession doesn't seem all that far-fetched. Crazy. Let's see. Ba-da-ba-ba. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Boo-boo-doo-boo-boo. Love Brandon and James. Always go to their performance here. Well, you know, I am a new fan, Kathleen, and I am looking forward to seeing them through a whole show of their own, and this will be the first time that I see them. Raymond, our local baker, praises Oregano, and that's wonderful. And of course, Oregano has their own mascot. That would be Taco the pig, who used to be really tiny. I remember now he's this gigantic piggy, which is wonderful. Let's see what else we have. Oh, yes, Brandy, thank you very much. We have a new restaurant opening up with tortas ahogadas. I'm not sure the name. Bright, beautiful building on Vienna near Niza, a block away. This is true. One of the places in the block that has all the senadurias, we've reported on this block before, has decided to change their menu, and they're now going to focus themselves on Jalisco-style tortas. I walked by it the other day, noticed that they painted the facade with beautiful new colors, and I also look forward to checking it out. And and seeing what this new place will offer. It is so wonderful to walk down the streets here in Versalles and find all these new places. Sheila comments, the movie called The Big Short is also about the 2008 economic downfall in the U.S. Great movie. I'm going to watch that next because now I'm intrigued about it. Again, this is not something that I know a lot about, but I'm definitely curious about it. And this, my friends, brings us to the end of our broadcast. I should add that yesterday while I was walking, I was out having fun with a new camera, trying to get used to this business of doing walking tours while my arm is still healing. I think it is possible, but I'm not feeling very, very sporty just yet. But please know that we are recovering, and we are hoping to start doing walking tours and taco tours and all that stuff within the next week or so, unless the doctor gives me chaotic news in 8 days, but I don't think he will. And that's what we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a really this is a great question. My boyfriend and I will be back in Puerto Vallarta on the 21st. We want to do a Versalles crawl and explore the restaurants over there. Where should we start? Linda, the answer is obvious. You start by downloading or by exploring our Versalles for Foodies map, which includes 20-something great eateries. And some of those are morning, some of them are daytime, and some of them are evening eateries. Just go through the map. There's at least 20-something great suggestions there for you. A great book called Meltdown by Tom Woods on the crash. I believe that book was mentioned on yesterday's documentary. Okay, so that's what we had. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.